So this is my continuation of this method. I call it the what method. And what is the what method? For understanding percentages, and this method can be used to solve any percentage problem, not just one or two of them, but any. So there's like three kind of variations for them. And no method is perfect. They all have their pluses and minuses, but so this is one that you can always solve it. But so what you do is you take your question. For instance, I have 75 or 60% of what number, and I translate that question into an equation. And of is always times, is always translates as an equal sign, and always take a percent over 100 when I'm in the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow those guidelines for this one, and I'll say, all right, 75 is, and then 60%. So 60%, because it's a percent, I'm going to take it over 100. And that's going to be of my W. So W will be what? And how will I solve this? Well, I can write this. This is really 6 over 10 or 3 over 5. You could use fractions, or if you want, you could just say this is 0.6 times W. And then I could solve for W by just divide both sides by 0.6. There's a little bit of algebra there. So divide 0.5, divide 75 by 0.6. And so they cancel out. What you end up with is W is going to be 75 divided by 0.6. And really that's going to be 5 times 75 over 3. I think you're going to get 125 for that one. So you're going to get W is 125. Let me do a couple more because that's one variation. You could check that, and if you take 60, go ahead and take 60 times 0.6 times 125. You should get that answer. So I'm going to erase this one, and I'm going to do one that's similar. Slight variation on it. And this new one is going to be this is going to be 6% of 750 is what? I'm going to do all three types, and let me get rid of this stuff from the previous problem. And so again, I'm using W for what? And I don't really have to solve for W in this case because it's kind of on its own there. So let's do, once again, we'll follow our procedure. What is 6%? We said we have to take it over 100 because that's our rule of 750. There's a couple of ways of doing this. You could use fractions, or you could just say, oh, 6 over 100 is 0.06. So this is really 0.06 times 750. And when you do that, what you're going to end up with is 45, I believe. You're going to end up with 45 for our answer there. So that's the third one. And, well, that's the second of our three examples. This is really the one that's the simplest, where you already have kind of W on one side. The other two, you kind of have to solve for W. And so now let me do one that's a little bit less intuitive. And so I'll erase this one. And that's probably all I'll do because I wanted to limit this. I wanted this video to be short. So this one is 1/2 is what percent of a quarter? Okay, so 1/2 is what percent of a quarter. It's bigger than a quarter. So thing is, 100 is always the whole. And normally when you're taking a fraction of something, it's less than 100. But the answer for these could be more than 100. You could have more than 100% for these answers. So 1/2 is what percent of 100? So let's go back to writing here. And so we'll follow our rules. So 1/2, we're just going to copy 1/2. We said that is equal. We said that what is going to be W. But our rule was that if it's a percent, you always divide it by 100. And this is times, and this is a quarter. So now we have our equation. And how can we solve this equation? Well, one of the things you could do is you could just say, well, we're going to solve this for W. I mean, if you want, we could just write this as 100 times 4 is 400. So we could say this is W over 400. So my answer will be, well, if I solve this for W, I'm going to get W is, so multiply both sides of this by 400, and you're going to get 400 over 2 on the left. So 400 over 2. What's 400 over 2? It's 200. So my answer here is 200. So 1/2 is counterintuitive as it seems, is 200% of a quarter. It's double a quarter. So actually when you double something, it is really 200% of that something. So those are the three things. And if you do a couple of examples, do a number of examples with this, the what method, and before you know it, you'll be able to do every single one of them, and you won't have to think twice about it. And really, there isn't that much thought once you translate the question into a percentage, and then just get W by itself. So that is, if you ever wondered what is the what method, so that's the what method. So if you like the video, please hit the old like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot.